Good morning and happy Tuesday. This particular one is a fun one. After servicing one of my normal clients, one that you guys have seen a few weeks ago, I received a phone call from a friend of hers asking that I come have a look at his yard. It had gotten away from him due to the weather and heat and everything. And when I got there, it was kind of overgrown. Normally when I get a request from the particular county he's in, I refer that to a different YouTuber, but this one was personal, so I had to get on this one myself. When I arrived, luckily it was just overgrown, not trashy, junky, or anything like that, so I was able to get right to work with my tools and not to worry about picking anything up out of my way or damage to my equipment. And all this was a fun cut because, again, it was real easy, apart from just being wet. If you stick to the end, you will see the before and after pictures. And if you refer to the video description, you will find links to all of my tools. And if you find it on your heart to help out around here, there's a link to my Amazon wish list. Thank you for watching and thank you for coming through.
Of course, it goes without saying that we start every video, every yard, with the edging first. Even in overgrown ones, I'm going to find the concrete edge with my foot. Before I jump in, I'm going to lay on the edge and go ahead and get that part done first. I am a one tool at a time type of person, as I've said before. I want to use something one time, put it away, and then move on to the next. What you will see here is that when you really found the edge, you'll hear it touching the concrete, you'll see sparks. That's how you know you're laying directly where you need to be edging. Unfortunately, that's also how you wear out a blade. That's why I keep several in the truck with me. Next up here, you see I don't shovel behind overgrowth. I just go right back and knock it back with the weed eater, and then of course I blow it into the yard when I'm done. But yeah, I tend to try to spare my shoulders by not doing a lot of shoveling if I don't have to, which I very rarely do. I just knock it back with the weed eater before I go back and clean up that edge. As I mentioned in my intro, this yard came to me from the owner of that Jeep you see there. I do her yard. You saw it on July 15th. That was her yard. She referred me to her friend, and he sent me a message a few days before I came, or a couple of days before I came out and did the job you guys are seeing here now. His yard, as you see, was overgrown. As I mentioned in my intro, that is overgrown due to a lot of rain and heat that we've had here in North Carolina. It has been nonstop all summer. So the yard kind of got away from him. He knows that I have the tools to knock back an overgrown yard and called me for some help, and here I am. what I'm doing here is going into an especially thick part of the front here, making sure that there are no hard borders, any landscaping edges or anything before I come back with the mower. Once I'm satisfied that there's nothing for me to run over and damage my equipment, I will do this with the more efficient equipment, but I have to make sure there's nothing to hurt me or my mower before I come back into this section. My only thing here, I'll take you for a ride on the chest mount to do this, but my only thing here is just to edge or trim against the house so I don't have to touch or get too close to the house with my mower for anything that may be there, like that box is there or any other conduits, for the electricity or plumbing or anything. I always like to have at least a little space between structures in the mower when I come back by. What's gonna happen here is my string trimmer came off the lock and twisted in the pole, so I had to pull it apart and readjust it. And I realized after the fact that I lost all the footage after I did that, all of my trimming footage after I did that. I do apologize, but I promise you it got done. Normally I would have trimmed on that fence line with the string trimmer before going in with the mower, but the backyard was so thick out to the fence line, I needed to give myself a little space, so I went through with the mower first. You will see in a couple of minutes I will come back and string trim that and then do a finish cut with the mower. I'd like to apologize for just how loud that mower is in this one. I've been testing out some new sound settings and a new sound setup and realized that I'm capturing way more than I need here these days. It may even be drowning out some of my voiceovers here, and I apologize for that. And now with everything good and clean, we'll go back over it one more time for a quick finish cut before we move on to the next section. again, I'm making a small path next to close to structures where I don't have to get too close to the mower and damage anything I can't afford to fix. So I'm just going around the deck and the porch and the side of the house and the AC unit and everything before I jump in with the mower. Now it is time to jump into this yard, this thick yard with the mower itself. You know, I did not jump on that fence line yet because when I assessed it, it was close enough for me to not have to worry about it until after I've already gotten some mowing done. As you see, the yard is it's a little over a foot high. It's not as bad as it looks though. It's very fluffy. It's because honestly kind of weedy. But my mower, as you can see, is having no problem chewing right through it. These baby trees here, I did not worry about. I knew my mower could get through them, so I'm just going to go over them a couple of times, make sure I got them down as low to the ground as my mower will take them, leave no stragglers, and they should be fine with maintenance. You know, once we're on a schedule and we're cutting regularly, it'll be as if they were never there. Contrary to my norm, I'm doing a single pass here because I have a plan, which you'll see in application in just a couple of minutes here. I knew I was going over this at least 3 times. I want to do it 3 different directions, at least non-consecutive directions. My camera placement caused me to lose about 10 feet of the yard, and I would have lost it any direction, so this was just a battle I chose. If I had backed it up further onto the patio, I'd have got more patio than yard, so I just had to lose what I was able to lose. This is the second pass. I'm using a different direction right away just to make sure I got everything. You know, I'm still seeing clippings laying on the yard. We'll deal with that in just a couple of minutes. Again, I don't bag clippings. I chop them up until they're fine enough to go down to the ground when the rain hits them. At this point, I'm going to go back to my original direction of cut. This now that I'm sure that every blade has been cut at least once, this is a final pass to make sure that the entire yard is a clean cut. You know, you'll be able to see the lines you would from a better vantage point, but you'll see how clean the cut is, and that is always important to me. Just a little bit of cleanup to do here along next to the storage building and under the swing set there. You'll see in just a moment before I move along to the next side yard. If I had been using one of my smaller mowers, I'd have gone under the swing set with the lawnmower. But because I was using the big one, I didn't want to break or knock anything down. As you see, I did finish my trimming against the house line there. That way I'm a good foot off of it when I turn to mow against it. I cut a swath just at the property line, so I'm blowing clippings in on the yard I'm cutting and not out on the one next to it, so we don't have to fight neighbors. One thing you can tell differently from the front yard due to healthier grass is that the grass is kind of damp. It had rained the day before, and we're looking at about 9:30 in the morning that I'm cutting this, so it's still kind of dewy. You can see some of the grass, kind of laying down under the weight of my mower. I'm making sure I go over it enough times to chop it up as finely as possible. Given that it is coming down from an overgrown lawn, it's gonna be an uglier cut than it will ever be again following this, but we are making sure at least to get it as clean as possible given our circumstances. And that's really all there is to it to this side yard. Let's move on to the front. And now as for the star of every show, it's always the front yard. We make sure we get that as best as possible. We make sure the yard is cut to nature in the back, and on non-visible parts, we cut for nurture in the front. So we make sure to pass over everything at least twice, possibly more. You will definitely see more on this one because, again, this is a damp morning yard. I started by blowing those clippings into that little ditch. I did not see a culvert in that ditch, so I wasn't of the opinion there was any water running through it. So it was safe to go ahead and blow those clippings into to begin with. And then I will go back at the end and string trim what didn't get cut in the middle of the ditch. I didn't want to risk damaging my mower or getting stuck or anything in the ditch, so I just cut adjacent to it. What you're seeing now, again, as you have come to learn with me, is my standard double cut. I double back over every stripe as soon as I make it. That is, again, to make sure I'm achieving a clean cut and starting the process of visible stripes on a yard. While I'm cutting grass, I don't really think about the cutting of the grass. I have all those thoughts, all those plans before I even crank the mower. I'm generally thinking about anything other than the yard in front of me. It's second nature. I'm kind of on autopilot, and by the time I get to cutting, I'm thinking about a story I'll write when I get back to my computer. I'm thinking about my grandbaby. I'm thinking about my wife and kids. I'm thinking about anything other than this yard. It's the music in my ears and me just moving as I move. What I'm working on there is the weedy stuff. I was worried about finding landscaping stuff in before, but again, once I assessed there wasn't, I knew I was going in it with the lawnmower because it was mostly weeds, overgrown stuff, clearly not on purpose things or things that he will be replanting or making new plans for. So I just went right over it, and he was fine with this. Done with my first cut and assessed there as I paused at the top of the line that it was kind of rough, so I knew it was going right back over it again, trying to maintain again the same stripes I made the first time. Again, this is me being me. Like, it was probably acceptable to the homeowner, but never acceptable to me. I need to make sure that the cut is clean as possible, that the clippings are as least visible as possible, and that I'm comfortable leaving a property saying that I was the one that cut that yard. And with that in mind, I'm still not pleased. Here we go one more time just to make sure I got everything. You can see how much more clean this cut is on this last pass. I can call this one good enough, even though it is still kind of wet and kind of matted under where my wheels go. We discussed why that is. Again, it has a lot to do with the fact, one, that it was overgrown, two, that it was kind of damp. Out of necessity, given the forecast, this yard had to be done when it got done. We're done with the mowing now. And as I discussed earlier, it's going to be this is going to be the ugliest cut I ever leave on this yard. Now that it is tamed, I have already been retained to come back out in 2 weeks and put him on a regular schedule. I promise to have this man with the best yard on his block. I decided before I clean up and get out of here that I wanted to get those edges one last time. They would have probably been fine with the rake and blower, but just looking at them, I had to make sure those edges were right before I walked off. And again, as quickly as I ran through this, you can see it was just dirty in there. It just need to be blown out of there. What I'm doing now is string trimming what is in that ditch, just to make sure that I'm not leaving clippings on top of uncut grass. I'll just make sure everything gets cut before I get out of there. I cut all the way down both sides of the ditch because I couldn't reach both sides from one because, well, I couldn't reach it. Normally I would have trimmed all these trips back and forth to the truck out of the video, but the camera was at one end of the driveway, I was at the other end. It was just easy to leave it for just a couple of minutes than to attempt trying to go back and forth to the camera, stop the camera, restart the camera. I just got everything I needed while I was there and went for it. And there goes that rake I rarely use. I promise you the only reason it's out today is because those clippings on that sidewalk are kind of damp, kind of wet, heavier than I would be able to efficiently move with the blower. So I'm getting at least the big stuff raked off of the sidewalk and driveway first before I go over with the blower. As with the regular clippings, I'm just going to toss those right there in that little ditch. Having done most of the cleanup with the rake already, we're coming near to the end of the video. I appreciate you guys sticking with me this long if you're still here. Everything I've used, except for, of course, the rake, everything I've used in this video, my tools, my string trimmer, which is also my edger, my lawnmower, my blower, everything, there are links in the video description, as there is to my Amazon wish list if you would like to help me out with this work I'm doing. We appreciate you. Again, if you want to like, share, comment, subscribe, share with everybody, share with all your friends. Thank you.